Did you know that one of the deadliest outlaws in Texas left behind a final letter that flipped everything people thought they knew about him? For years, he was branded a thief, a murderer, a cold-blooded killer. But when his letter was finally read aloud, it revealed a truth so shocking it didn't just shake the town he came from. It forced people across the frontier to question what justice really meant in the Wild West. This is the story of that outlaw, his betrayal, his last words, and the secret that shocked the West. The year was 1878. Texas was hot with dust, blood, and the echoes of gunfire. The Civil War was over, but peace had not come to the frontier. Ranchers fought for land. Cattle thieves ran the prairies, and sheriffs tried to hold order in towns that were nothing more than clusters of saloons, gambling dens, and wooden churches that leaned in the wind. And in the middle of it all was Caleb Finch, a man whispered about in every saloon from El Paso to Fort Worth. Some called him a gunslinger, others called him a demon. But everyone agreed on one thing: wherever Caleb Finch rode, death usually followed. He wasn't the fastest draw in the West. He wasn't even the most ruthless. But Caleb had something else: a reputation for surviving. Posse after posse hunted him down, and every time he slipped through their fingers, it was as if he was untouchable, destined to live forever on the edge of a six-shooter. But destiny has a way of changing its mind. Caleb Finch wasn't born an outlaw. He was born the son of a rancher. His father was a tough man who raised cattle near San Antonio, and Caleb grew up riding horses before he could walk straight. But when Caleb was 15, trouble came knocking. A band of hired guns, working for a wealthy ranching syndicate, forced his father off the land. Some said the big ranchers wanted total control of the valley. Others whispered it was revenge for an old feud. Whatever the reason, Caleb's father refused to leave. One night, under the cover of darkness, masked riders set fire to the Finch ranch. Caleb's father was shot dead in the yard, and his mother fled with his younger sister, never to be seen again. Caleb, hiding in the barn, watched it all. That night, Caleb swore he would never forgive. And more than that, he swore he would never play by the law's rules again. By 20, he was robbing stagecoaches. By 25, he was gunning down bounty hunters. His name spread across Texas like wildfire. But Caleb Finch wasn't just chasing money. He was chasing vengeance. And that vengeance would twist into a legend that haunted the West. Hook. But here's the strange part. Every crime Caleb committed had a pattern, and the meaning behind it wouldn't come out until his final letter. For years, Caleb rode with a partner, Elias Boone, a slick-talking sharpshooter with eyes as cold as steel. The two were inseparable. They robbed together, fought together, nearly died together. If one pulled the trigger, the other was covering his back. To the law, they were twin devils. To each other, they were brothers. But in the Wild West, loyalty had a price. By the spring of 1878, bounty posters with Caleb's name were nailed on every sheriff's wall. The governor of Texas put up a reward so high it made even honest men think about turning him in. Elias Boone had always chased money, and suddenly, his partner's head was worth more than a lifetime of robberies. One night, camped out near a creek under the stars, Elias poured Caleb a drink. They laughed, swapping stories of near escapes and foolish sheriffs. Caleb never noticed Elias slip away, never noticed the distant hoofbeats. Minutes later, a posse of lawmen descended on the camp. Guns blazed, bullets tore through the air, and Caleb Finch went down with lead in his shoulder and blood running down his chest. When he looked up, gasping for air, the last thing he saw was Elias Boone, standing with the sheriff smirking. The betrayal was complete. Cliffhanger. But Caleb wasn't dead yet, and what he left behind would outlive him, long after Elias Boone vanished into history. Thrown in a county jail, Caleb Finch lay broken. The law said he'd hang in 2 weeks. The newspapers called it a victory. The townsfolk gathered to celebrate. But Caleb didn't waste his last days cursing the law or begging for mercy. He asked for pen and paper, and there, in the dim candlelight of his cell, Caleb Finch wrote the only letter he ever left behind. It was addressed to his sister, the one who had fled with their mother on the night their ranch burned. In the letter, Caleb confessed everything. He admitted the robberies, the killings, the chaos. But then he revealed something no one expected. Every man he had robbed, every rancher he had gunned down, every stagecoach he had looted, they were all connected to the syndicate that stole his family's land. The so-called respectable men of Texas, judges, sheriffs, ranch barons, had lined their pockets with blood. Caleb's crimes weren't random. They were vengeance, one bullet at a time. And then came the most damning line in the letter. The true thieves don't ride the prairie with six-shooters. They sit in fine houses, wear clean boots, and call themselves men of law. If I am an outlaw, it is only because justice never wore a badge. The morning of his hanging, Caleb Finch walked calmly to the gallows. Some said he even smiled. When asked for last words, he simply said, "You'll hear my truth soon enough." The trapdoor dropped. His body swung. By noon, the legend of Caleb Finch was supposed to be finished. But then the letter surfaced. It was read aloud in saloons, printed in newspapers, whispered from cattle drive camps to frontier towns. And suddenly, people began to wonder, was Caleb Finch really just a criminal? Or was he a man crushed by injustice, fighting back the only way the West allowed? The syndicate men he named in the letter scrambled to deny it. But rumors spread like wildfire, and within a year, 2 of them were mysteriously gunned down on lonely roads. As for Elias Boone, his name disappeared. Some say he lived fat and rich in California. Others swear he was hunted down by men loyal to Caleb. His grave, if it exists, has never been found. To this day, historians argue about Caleb Finch. Some say the letter was a forgery, crafted by newspapermen hungry for sales. Others say it was his genuine confession, proof that the West's greatest outlaw wasn't a born evil, but made by greed, corruption, and betrayal. One thing is certain: his final words turned him from a hunted man into a legend. Because in the Wild West, a man's story didn't end with the rope. It lived on in the words he left behind. Caleb Finch's tale reminds us of one thing. In the Old West, the line between outlaw and hero was thin as a razor. Sometimes the man branded a villain was just the only one willing to fight back, and sometimes it wasn't the gun that shook the frontier, but a single letter. If you enjoyed this tale of betrayal, revenge, and shocking secrets, then stick around, because next we're riding into another mystery, the stranger who rode into town at midnight and changed everything. Subscribe now, because in this channel, the Wild West lives on.